Hello, my name is Scott Alquist. I'm the Program Manager with the Truckee Meadows Community College Safety Center in Reno, Nevada. We are a US EPA accredited lead-based training facility, and we have partnered with the City of South Lake Tahoe and Lead Safe Tahoe to bring you some information on how to work safely with renovations that may involve lead-based paint. Homes built prior to 1978 do run that potential. While people may not think that lead is very hazardous, it only takes a very small amount to bring up negative health effects in adults, children, and even your pets. As I'd mentioned a moment ago, houses built prior to 1978 have the potential for lead-based paint. There are a couple ways for you to identify this hazard. One is to contact the California State Department of Public Health and request the assistance of a California certified inspector or assessor, or you can just proceed in a lead-safe manner, presuming the presence of lead-based paint. The US EPA has some very strict regulations governing the disturbance of lead-based paint. Now, as a homeowner, you are allowed to work on your own home. But if you have rental properties that you are not personally occupying, at that point you have to use a certified renovation, repair, and painting contractor. The rules, like I said, are very stringent and the fines are very high. Contractors who do not follow these rules are subject to fines up to $37,500 per occurrence per day. Now, if you've determined there is no lead-based paint present, you can proceed with your remodel as you wish. But if lead-based paint is present, there's some very strict guidelines that you as a homeowner are going to want to follow. When planning your activities involving lead-based paint, the first thing you need to do is look at the activity, how you will conduct that activity, and how much dust and debris will be generated. If it's a very large remodel or runs the risk of generating large amounts of dust and debris, you may want to consider utilizing an EPA-certified renovation, repair, and painting contractor. Now, even though as a homeowner you are not regulated to follow the rules set forth by the US EPA, it's highly recommended that you follow the same lead-safe work practices as contractors are required to. The first thing you want to look at, besides the size of the job and the amount of lead that you will be disturbing, is how many areas of your home will be affected. It is highly recommended that you work one area at a time from start to finish so you lessen the likelihood of contaminating the rest of your house or tracking contaminants back into areas you have already cleaned. Now that you've determined which areas of your house you'll be working on, you need to look at how much dust debris you will be generating. That's going to help you determine the type of containment necessary. Containment, simply put, is keeping dust and debris in contaminated areas and keeping it out of the rest of your house. Up to now, we've been discussing activities inside your house that could generate dust and debris. But at times, you may have to do work on the outside of your house that will generate debris, paint chips, and even amounts of dust as well. While containment on the inside of your house is very important, it's equally important as well on the outside. You'll want to place plastic on the ground to try to capture all the paint chips and debris, and you want to be a good neighbor. Contractors are required to contain dust if you're within 10 feet of a property line. If you're within 10 feet of your neighbor's house or their property line, like I said, be a good neighbor, contain all the dust and debris as best you can. Now that you've determined the type of containment necessary to keep the dust and debris in that one specific area, now you have to determine how you're going to conduct the activity. You want to try to work in a manner that generates the least amount of dust and debris as possible. So instead of using, say, a Sawzall, you may want to take the extra time and use a utility knife. It may take you a few minutes longer, but the cleanup at the end will be much easier and much safer for your family. When conducting your cleaning activities, you really want to stay away from dry cleaning. All that will do is spread dust throughout not only your area that you've contained, but also possibly through the rest of your house. You always want to do wet cleaning, utilizing a product similar to this, a wet wipe. These are really good. Solid waste, they can go into your contractor bag. You never, ever, ever want to use water. By using water, you're creating contaminated water and you'll have no way to legally dispose of that. Now to this point, we've talked about keeping the dust inside specific areas, also known as containment, inside and outside. We've talked about working in a lead-safe manner and minimizing the dust and debris generated. But now you have to consider how to protect yourself with what is known as PPE, or personal protective equipment. And like the containment, the PPE selected will have to match the hazards of the lead dust that you as the homeowner may be exposed to. As I mentioned earlier, the type of activity you're going to conduct will help you determine how to contain or keep contaminants from spreading throughout your house or your property. But now you have to be concerned about your own safety as well. The activity may require that you only wear eye protection, goggles, gloves, and what is known as a HEPA mask with a 100 rating. The other activities that they're very dusty may also require you to use a Tyvek suit with a head covering. The whole key here is to keep the dust away from you so you are not exposed. Now, we talked about the need for wearing personal protective equipment, and that's to keep the dust off of your bodies and out of your bodies. But equally important is how you remove that protective equipment without cross-contamination. Something as simple as removing your gloves improperly can contaminate you with lead dust. The proper way to remove your gloves is to reach down and to grab the glove about an inch below the cuff. Pull your hand approximately halfway out to where your fingers are like this. Grasping the glove, you've now exposed just the clean side of the glove. You can now pinch that glove, pull your hand out of the other glove, and you have just now removed your gloves without contaminating the rest of your skin. Now you've set up your area, contained all of the dirt and dust. You've protected your family, you've protected your neighbors, you've protected yourself. The job is now done, but you're not finished yet. In order to be sure everything is done properly, you need to clean the affected areas. Cleaning should be done always in stages. As you create debris, you create dust, it should be cleaned up at that time. But once that whole area is ready to return back to where you can use it again, you want to be sure it's properly cleaned. Now that you've finished cleaning, you want to be sure you have cleaned effectively. There are tools available to help you, cards similar to this. This is called a cleaning verification card. If you call the EPA's lead hotline at 1-800-424-LEAD, you can request what is known as a cleaning verification card. The instructions for use are contained on the back. Simply put, you will take and wipe areas down and then compare them against the samples here through this window, and if it is lighter than this, you've pretty much passed your cleaning. If it's darker, you're going to want to clean again. Now that you've finished cleaning and you've collected up all of the waste, it needs to be contained in a contractor grade or a very heavy-duty garbage bag. The way that you seal this bag is very important to ensure there is no release of dust and debris to the environment. What you want to do is to gather the bag from the top, being careful not to squeeze and push air out. Bring it up, reach down about 1 foot, and squeeze it together, just like this. Once you've done this, hold it tight and begin to spin this as you start taking it all the way to the top. Just like this. Once you've got it to the top, take your duct tape, bend this back on itself, just like this. Take 1 strip of duct tape to start with. This is called goosenecking. Wrap it around twice, just like this. Tear the tape, and then add a second band down below. This is called double-banded goosenecking. This is how the EPA requires contractors to bag and secure their waste, and this is how you need to do it as well. Per California requirements, you will also need to label this bag containing lead-based paint. You can take a piece of duct tape, place it on the bag, and then with a Sharpie, write the word lead paint waste. That way the people at the transfer station know what they're dealing with. So in this instructional DVD, we've covered some pretty specific points. We've talked about determining the absence and presence of lead in the paint at your house and the resources available through the California State Department of Health to help identify those. We've talked about working in a lead-safe manner. We've talked about setting up containment, keeping dust and debris in specific areas so it does not contaminate your family, your house, or even your neighbors. We've talked about how to protect yourself. We've talked about how to clean. We've talked about how to verify your cleanliness. And we also talked about how to dispose of your waste properly. In parting, we'd like to leave you with some important things to remember. Please remember that lead is poisonous. You always want to work in a lead-safe manner. Lead dust moves easily. Be sure to contain each area before beginning work. Always clean as you go. Avoid dry sanding as it generates large amounts of dust. Wet sanding and cleanup is always best. Pressure washing generates hazardous waste and can contaminate the soil around your property. Make sure you and your tools are clean before leaving the contaminated area. And be careful not to release dust when goosenecking your trash bag and mark it appropriately. For more information or with questions, please call the Truckee Meadows Community College Safety Center at area code 775-857-4958 or the National Lead Hotline at 1-800-424-LEAD.